Hey guys, good evening. Hope you guys are staying safe and doing well. Okay, I think maybe a few of us have their microphones on, so when you get a chance, can whoever's not muted, mute. Okay, so today we're going to finish up the material basically for the class, and so here's what we have left on the syllabus. Okay, so the chapter 10 homework is due today. So make sure you get that in if you haven't done so already. I think most people, I checked, had already turned it in, but just make sure you get that done today. And then that's our last regular homework. And so I'll post the homework solutions tomorrow morning, so you guys can see those if you need any of that information for your final. So today's the last day to submit the homework, because there's no more homework assignments, except for the oligopoly one. So tomorrow morning I'll post my homework solutions for chapters 8, 9, and 10, so you can look at those. Okay, and so you still have another week to do the oligopoly homework that we talked about and went over last time. And so that's due in a week. And so make sure you get that done within the week, because that's due next Friday, May 29th. Okay, and then the last thing obviously is the final. And so we're going to do a little final review today. We'll do go over a practice exam and my solutions. Okay, and then I'll post the final after we're done with tonight's session, and then you'll have a week to do that, and that'll be due via email, just like the midterm. All right, so it looks like most of you already turned in homework 10. So again, I'll post those solutions tomorrow, along with chapters 8, 9, and 10. And then make sure you get this in by next week, and you still have a week to do that. But that's the last week, which is next week. Okay, so I think we can, unless you have any additional questions about what we've previously done, we can go ahead and start reviewing for the final. Is everybody good on to complete the oligopoly homework? Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, well if you do, you can let me know. You can contact me via email during the week. Okay, on Blackboard, if you do go down to the final exam spring 2020 section and open that up. Okay, and I will post your final here at the end of class tonight, so this will be where that is. But I also prepared a practice exam, and so you can see that here. Here's the practice exam. Okay, and so you basically have 3 big questions. So it's basically one from each of the last 3 chapters that we've done post-midterm. And so there's basically one on chapter 8, one on chapter 9, and one on chapter 10. And so you have a big question on something similar to what you did for the homework for this chapter, which is doing the profit maximization problems and determining which market it is for those. All right, this should be familiar from chapter 9 homework, which is where we had the two different types of oligopolies we studied, the Stackelberg and the Cornell, and we did the profit max on those and looked at the differences from the results. All right, and there'll be one on the oligopolies material that we did from last week, so this will be like chapter 10. So basically, a nice big question on the homeworks we did are similar to for chapters 8, 9, and 10. And so 3 questions. They each got multiple parts, but you should have some good preparation for this from the homeworks. And we'll do this practice exam, and you'll have my solutions for that. Okay, and so each one, I think I actually forgot to put the individual points per question on the final. But they're all equally weighted, so basically there's 3 questions, and so each question is basically 33 1/3 points. So there's 3 questions, each one is 1/3 of the 100 points. So nice even, or just not nice even, but nice 3-way split. All right, so this is the practice one that we're going to do right now, and the one you'll get for your final will be very similar to this. I just had to make some different questions, but the structure will be the same. So here's the practice exam, and I think the best thing we can do to go through it is just to pull up my solutions and go through it individually, and so that way you'll get a good idea, which you probably have already, of how to do these ones. All right, so there's the sample for practice final. And if you want to open up the practice final solutions, you can do that right here, and we'll go through that for our review. Okay, so here we go. We'll start going through the practice exam, and then if you have any questions, stop me and let me know. But we'll start with the first type. So here's your practice exam. All right, so number 1 is where you get different information, and you have to do the profit max, and then identify which market it is. So you guys did this on the homework, and I might mix them around a little bit, but you just have to identify which, you should be familiar with which type it is after you do the question. So the first one. Okay, so there's question number 1 has multiple parts. I think there's a bunch of letters, but it's basically doing the profit max 3 times for the different examples. So following equation describes the firm's total cost, right? So the total cost here is 5 plus Q squared. So you know that the 5 part is the fixed cost, and the Q plus Q squared is the variable cost, because that depends on how much output is produced. All right, and so if the firm is a price taker and other firms in the industry sell output at $9, then what price should the manager of this firm put on the product? All right, so this is an easy one, but it'll get you started. And so if they're price takers, they have to take the price or not, and the price they're going to charge if they choose to participate in the market is $9. So they're a price taker, other firms are charging $9, and they're going to charge $9. All right, and then this is the price taker, so we don't have to worry about the marginal revenue because it's flat at the price, right? So we'll worry about marginal revenue at the other example, but for this one, it's always the same, and in fact, for a price taker, the MR is just equal to the price. So, what level of output should be produced to maximize profit or minimize cost? All right, and so you start with the total cost. Let me just get rid of this spelling thing. Okay, so we'll start here with the cost. So the total cost is given, which is 5 plus Q squared. You know, to get the marginal cost, which you'll need, you just have to differentiate that with respect to Q. And so our marginal cost, based on this total cost function, is 1 plus 2Q, because that's the derivative of that with respect to Q. So the marginal cost is 1 plus 2Q. Okay, so we need to find the part, the profit maximizing choice, which is always MR equals MC, and you know that for a price taker, price equals MR, so now we'll just set price equal to MC for this specific term. Okay, so price is $9, you calculate a marginal cost, which is 1 plus 2Q, then we're just solving for Q to find the best Q. 2Q equals 8. Take away 1 from both sides, and then divide by 2. So we get Q equals 8 divided by 2, and our optimal quantity for this term is 4. So Q star is 4 units for this one so far. All right, then you always need to check if the firm should keep operating or should shut down, and you know that that condition is this one. And so you always want to check if the optimal price is greater than or equal to the average variable cost at that optimal quantity. So you know the price that's being charged, you know the quantity, and just see if the price is bigger than the average variable cost at that Q star of 4. All right, so first you have to know, well, you know the price is 9, okay, and you have to know how to get average variable cost, which is pretty simple, but just to show you that where we got this. All right, total cost is 5 plus Q squared. Now the 5 part doesn't depend on output, so that's only part of the fixed cost. We're only interested for shutting down sake the variable cost. So the variable cost part is only this portion. All right, so the variable cost is Q plus Q squared. And the average variable cost is just this divided by Q, right? So the average cost at each output, and so if you just put in, basically divide by Q, you get that your average variable cost is 1 plus Q, right? So Q divided by Q is 1, and then Q squared divided by Q is Q. So the average variable cost is 1 plus Q. Okay, so for the average variable cost, again, just take the average part and divide by Q. Pretty simple, but you got to check it. And then just plug in Q star here. So we get, is 9 bigger than or equal to the average variable cost, which is 1 plus Q? Let's see if it is. Okay, is 9 bigger than or equal to 1 plus 4, which is Q star? It is. 9 is bigger than 5, so the firm should keep producing because price is bigger than or equal to average variable cost. So that confirms that, and you still have to calculate that tells us that they should keep producing. Now they still might have a situation in which they take a loss, but we have to calculate that in step D. Okay, so calculate profit or losses for the firm, and that is always equal to the total revenue minus the total cost. And the total revenue is price times quantity, which is 9 times 4, and then minus the cost function, 5 plus Q squared. Plug in minus 5 minus 4 for Q, and then minus 4 squared, so just plugging in the Q stars. And then this gives us 36 minus 5 minus 4 minus 16. And if you put that in summation, that gives us a total profit of $11 for this firm. All right, and the last part for each of these sections is you've got to identify which market it is. So you probably already know what this one is, but this firm sells kale, which is a perfect substitute at a farmer's market. And what type of market is this? And you know that would be especially because it's a price taker, this would be a perfect competition firm, and so that's the type of market for this one. Okay, so everybody good so far? Okay, great, and so we'll keep going here. And again, you did some of these for practice on the homework for chapter 8, and so when I post my solutions, double check that you got those correctly, because that'll help you make sure you got more practice on this. But all right. Okay, so the next section, going to part F. Next section starts here. So another example is the following equation describes the terms demand and total cost. So here's the demand function. Price equals 61 minus 2 cubed. All right, so you already know if there's a demand function that's not just not just equal to the price, then this one is definitely not perfect competition, but it could be monopoly or monopolistic competition or oligopoly. So the other three are options. But if you have any negative sloping demand curve, then perfect competition is out. So that one's ruled out. So price demand is 16 P equals 61 minus 2Q. And total cost, I think I kept it the same, is just, no, it's not the same. They're much bigger. Total cost is 1,000 plus Q squared. Marginal cost will be the same, but the fixed cost you can see is much higher. All right, same analysis here. What level of output should be produced to maximize profits or minimize losses? And so, again, we define the profit maximizing rule where MR equals MC, but first you got to find MR and MC, okay? Let's go over here first. Total cost is given 1,000 plus Q squared. And if you differentiate that with respect to Q, you get what we had last time, because the variable cost is the same, so 1 plus 2Q. Okay. All right, and then you got to calculate revenue and then marginal revenue. So revenue is price times quantity. Price times quantity here is price by the demand function of 61 minus 2Q, and then times Q. All right, and then distribute the Q. 61Q minus 2Q squared, and then differentiate that with respect to Q to get marginal revenue, which is 61 minus 4Q. All right, so now we got MR, now we got MC, and let's put those to equal, because that's the best the firm can do, and find their best Q star. Okay, so best output is set to MR equal to MC, you know that. And that means 61 minus 4Q equals 1 plus 2Q. And if you rearrange, put the 4Q on the other side and the 1, so you add 4Q to both sides and you subtract 1 from both sides, that gives you 6Q equals 60. Okay, and then 60 divided by 6 gives us an optimal output of 10 units. Alright, what is the market price? Now, the price is not given because this is not a price taker, but you to find the price, you just put in Q, your best output, into the demand function. So 61 minus 2Q. Sorry, P equals 61 minus 2Q is the demand function. And let's plug in our Q of 10. 61 minus 2 times 10 is 61 minus 20, which gives us a price of $41 for this product. Alright, then let's check again. Should the firm keep producing or shut down? So just note that the variable cost is the same, right? That part. So average variable cost is also the same, and that means average variable cost is 1 plus Q. Alright, so we'll use that to see if our condition holds to keep producing. Okay, so this is the condition that you check to see if they could keep producing. Is price bigger than or equals to average variable cost at the optimal price and the optimal quantity. Let's see. Price is 41. Average variable cost is 1 plus Q. And if we plug in Q star into that average variable cost, we get 1 plus 10. Q is 10, right? Yep, and that gives us 11. So 41 is bigger than 11, so that means we've at least covered the fixed costs, so we're going to keep producing because we confirmed price is bigger than or equal to average variable cost. Okay, then the last, or not the last part, but the next part is calculate profit or losses for this firm. So profits are, or losses, are total revenue minus total cost, same process. Plug in our price times quantity, 41 times 10, and then minus the cost function. That goes in there, so we got a big fixed cost. Okay, so minus 1,000 plus Q squared. Now plug in all the Q's. 41 times 10 minus 1,000 minus 10 minus 10 squared. So that's 410 minus 1,000 minus 10 minus 100. And the firms, they keep producing, but they're minimizing losses in this situation because their profit here, or their loss minimization is negative 700. Okay, but you always want to check that that makes sense. If you get a negative profit or a loss, then make sure that that is bigger than, or better than just shutting down. So this should be a smaller loss than the fixed cost. Okay, which it is. So this should make sense that if they keep producing, they don't make a profit, but they only lose $700. Whereas if they shut down, they lose 1,000. So this is a loss minimization case where they're doing better than the fixed cost loss, but they're still taking a loss. So just confirm if you get a keep producing loss situation that the loss that they're taking is better than the loss they would take by just shutting down and losing the fixed cost. So it is. So this is what the firm should do. Not the best situation, but they're going to keep producing and take a loss of negative 700. Okay, so now identify the firm. I'll give a little description. The firm sells razors and competes with other firms selling slightly differentiated razors, like for shaving. And what type of market is this firm operating in? And you know that because there's differentiated products, there's other firms selling slightly different products, and that would confirm that this is monopolistic competition. Because this is the type of market with many firms selling slightly differentiated products, and especially razors or things like that would go into that market. So this should tell you that this type of market is monopolistic competition. Okay, so one more section of demand and total cost for number one. Okay, so now we have a demand function and total cost. So the perfect competition is out. This could be either monopolistic competition, oligopoly, or monopoly. We'll find out. The price demand is price equals 101 minus Q, and total cost is 5 plus Q plus Q squared. Okay, let's find the output that should be produced. All right, so first we need marginal cost and marginal revenue. Okay, total cost is 5 plus Q plus Q squared. That's given, and I think the marginal cost is the same again for this example. So it's again 1 plus 2Q. All right. Now, total revenue is price times quantity, and price is 101 minus Q times Q, and that gives us 101 Q minus Q squared, and then differentiate that with respect to Q, and the marginal revenue in this case is 101 minus 2Q. Alright, then let's set the two equal to find the profit maximizing level of output, which is what we're interested in. So 101 minus 2Q equals 1 plus 2Q. And then add 2Q to both sides, subtract 1 from both sides, we get 4Q equals 100. And then divide by 4, so 100 divided by 4. And in this case, our optimal output Q star is 25 units. Okay, then what's the market price? Take the demand function, 101 minus Q, and plug in our Q star. So 101 minus our optimal Q of 25 gives us the price of $76. Okay, part M. And should the firm keep producing or shut down? Alright, we check again if price is bigger than or equal to average variable cost at the optimal price and quantity. And note that the marginal cost, or the average variable cost, is the same again. There is variable cost. That means average variable cost is 1 plus Q, which you see here. Okay, so plug in the price of 76. Is that bigger than or equal to 1 plus Q star, which means 76. And over here we got 1 plus 25. Alright, again, 76 is bigger than or equal to 26, so the firm's going to keep producing because the price is high enough, and they can cover the cost, and price is bigger than the average variable cost, so they're going to keep producing. again, calculate profit or losses. Okay, this is always revenue minus cost. Total revenue is price times 20, so 76 times 25, and then minus the cost function. 5 plus Q plus Q squared. Now let's just plug in the Q stars. 76 times 25 minus 5, minus 25 minus 25 squared. And this comes out to, that 76 times 25 is 1900, minus 5 minus 25 minus 25 squared, which is 625. And you put this in your calculator, or you really get it doing it in your head, you get that the profit here is 1,245. Okay, and so if you get slightly bigger numbers, like in the thousands, like we did here, you have plenty of time to do this. So double check it a few times in the calculator. But this I think comes out to 1,245. And then let's identify the type of firm, part O. Okay, this is a public firm which picks up trash and recycling. No other businesses offer this service in the city. What type of market is this? And you know that just by the fact that there's no other firms doing it, and it's got to be a monopoly, and you know that pretty much all public utilities, electricity, gas, water, and trash are public monopolies, and so this would be a monopoly. Okay, so that's a third of the test, doing the different profit maxes and identifying which type of market it is. Okay, any questions on that before we move on to the Chapter 9 material, oligopolies of Stackelberg and Cornell? Okay, so number 2 will be like your Chapter 9 homework, which everyone did, and I'll post my solutions tomorrow morning so you guys can see, make sure you did those correctly just for more practice. But here we got the oligopoly with the Cornell and the Stackelberg types. So I'll give you one general demand function with the 2 firms, and then probably a cost function for each. Okay, so suppose the inverse demand function and the cost function for 2 duopolies are given by P equals 44 minus Q1 plus Q2, and then the costs are C1 equals 4Q1 and C2 equals 4Q2. Okay, so you can do it for Cornell and then for Stackelberg and then compare the results. And so it's, I have to keep coming up with more and more examples here, but it usually, I try to make them come out pretty nice. Sometimes they don't, but for this one, it came out with a few fractions, but I'm pretty sure I already did the one on your final, and the one on the final should come out really evenly, so you should get nice, clean numbers. So I try to make it come out clean, but sometimes you don't know where it's going until you do it. But let's do this one. Okay, so we got 2 Cornell duopolies. So that means they're both going to act at the same time and choose their reaction functions and assume that they're not going to adjust their output based on the other firm's output choices, but they do have reaction functions. So what is firm 1's quantity and profit, and also what is firm 2's quantity and profit, and then what is the market price? So you can answer these any order you like. I usually do it's probably best to do the outputs first, and then the price, and then the profits, because that's the way it usually comes out in chronological order. So let's first we need to set up the MR equals MC for both firms, and then find the reaction functions, and then find their optimal quantities. So we've done this in chapter 9, but here we go. Okay, so I'll try to do both at the same time. If you put them side by side like this, it's a nice way to double check that you're doing it correctly, because if you get the same answer in both scenarios, then it should be right. So revenue firm 1 is the price, which is 44 minus Q1 minus Q2, times the output of firm 1, which is Q1. And then R2 is 44 minus Q1 minus Q2 times Q2. Alright, and then if you multiply through by Q1, get 44 Q1 minus Q1 squared minus Q2 Q1. And over here we get 44 Q2 minus Q2 squared minus Q1 Q2. And we differentiate this one with respect to Q1 to get MR for firm 1. So MR1 is equal to 44 minus 2Q1 minus Q2. And then for firm 2, differentiate R2 with respect to Q2. And we get 44 minus 2Q2 minus Q1. So we should get something that's symmetrical for both the firms. Now, to find the reaction functions, we need to set MR1 equal to MC1 and MR2 equal to MC2. So we got MR1, which is up there, 44 minus 2Q1 minus Q2. And we need marginal cost. Alright, so if both the costs are just 4Q, then differentiate that with respect to Q1, and it's just 4. And the same for firm 2. Alright, so the marginal cost for both firms is going to be 4. And we'll use that in our profit maximizing output choice. Okay, so 44 minus 2Q1 minus Q2 equals 4. And then 44 minus 2Q2 minus Q1 equals 4. So that's MR equal to MC for both firms. Now let's rearrange. Put the 2Q1 on the other side and then subtract 4. We have 2Q1 equals 40 minus Q2. And do the same over here. Get 2Q2 equals 40 minus Q1. And then just divide both sides by 2. You'll get Q1 equals 20 minus 1 half Q2. That's firm 1's reaction function. Over here, divide by 2, and you get the same symmetrical reaction function for firm 2, which is Q2 equals 20 minus 1 half Q1. So those are both the firm's reaction functions. Okay, and let's now, to solve for the optimal Q for both firms, we have 2 equations and 2 unknowns. Let's plug the other firm's reaction function into that firm's reaction function and then solve for Q1 and Q2 doing that. So we get Q1 equals 20 minus 1 half, and then plug in firm 2's reaction function for Q2, 20 minus 1 half Q1, and then for Q2, 20 minus 1 half, and plug in firm 1's reaction function for Q1. So 20 minus 1 half Q2. Alright, and then start just simplifying. We get Q1 equals 20 minus 10 plus 1/4 Q1, and we get 20 minus 10 plus 1/4 Q2. Okay, and then subtract the 1/4 Q1 from both sides, and then 20 minus 10 is 10, and we get 3/4 Q1 equals 10, and over here we get 3/4 Q2 equals 10. And then you want to get rid of the 3/4, so either divide both sides by 3/4 or multiply by 4/3. Same thing, so 4/3, Q1 equals 4/3 times 10, and Q2 equals 4/3 times 10. And this doesn't come out super nice, but it comes out to 40/3, which is around 13, and the same over here. Q2 star is 40/3, which is around 13. So again, for the Cornell, you should get the same output for both firms because they both go at the same time. Okay, then you're going to find the price in the market and start with the demand curve, 44 minus Q1 plus Q2. And then just plug in the Q1 and Q2 stars, 44 minus 40/3 minus 40/3. And if you simplify this out or combine it, you'll get 52/3, which is about 17. All right, then let's get both firms' profits, and they should be the same, but profit of firm 1 is price times its output minus its cost, and the same as firm 2, price times Q2 minus C2. Okay, for firm 1, price is 52/3 times quantity is 40/3, and minus the cost function is 4 times Q1, right? Okay, 4 times 40/3, and the same over here. 52/3 times 40/3 minus 4 times 40/3. And if you put this in the calculator, you get right around $178 for both firms. So they're about 178 over here, and the same over here. So both firms' profits for the Cornell style are approximately 178. Okay, so like I said, I'm pretty sure the numbers come out with no fractions on the final. But if you did have fractions like this one, just you can leave in the fractions for your answers, but just make sure you put the approximate number. Like here, I put like 13 here. Or 17 there, because then it's easier to compare it to the Stackelberg. And so you can keep it in fractions, but just make sure when you get the final result that you put the approximate number, like 13 or 17 or 178, so you can make easier comparisons at the end. Okay, so then we're going to do Stackelberg. Okay, so now we've done this, so let's assume we got two firms in a homogeneous product Stackelberg oligopoly, where firm 1, though, is the leader and firm 2 is the follower. So we know that firm 1 has the first mover advantage. And let's see how this comes out. And I'm pretty sure that these ones came out a lot cleaner without the fractions, but sometimes you don't know until you start solving. So what is firm 1's quantity and profit, firm 2's quantity and profit, and then what's the market price? Okay, so you can solve for any of these 5 things any way you want, but I usually like to do firm 1 output first because it's kind of how it works. And so remember, you can start because we have the same demand and cost functions, so you already know firm 2's reaction function. Okay, so just know that firm 2's output as a function of firm 1 that you already solved for in the Cornell part. you just identified which part is the reaction function, which is that. So let's use that for part Stackelberg. All right, and you already found firm one's revenue function, so you might as well just keep that without solving for it again. So you know the revenue function is the same as this one. Right there, so you can keep that and use that for the second part. All right, so again, I'm just putting these here, the reaction function of firm two and firm one's revenue, because we already solved for those, but just make sure that you're using the right pieces of information. You can always do it again to confirm, but if you're sure which part is the firm two's reaction function and which part is firm one's revenue, you can just put that information here, and then you won't have to solve for it again, which I think saves a few steps. Okay, and that's only because the demand and cost functions is the same. If anything changed, then we have to do it again. But let's save a few steps. We've already got firm two's reaction function, and we've already got firm one's revenue function. Okay, so you know that firm one is going to go first. Firm one is going to maximize profit using firm two's reaction function. Okay? So profit of any firm is revenue minus cost, so R1 minus P1. Alright, so remember we already got R1, which is right there, 44 Q1 minus Q1 minus Q2 Q1. Okay, so I just put that in for R1. And then this part is given, so the cost of the firm here is 4Q1, so we got to subtract that, because that's the cost we got to pay. Okay, so that's revenue. This part's revenue. That part's R1, and then this part is the minus C1. Alright, so let's see, 44 Q1 minus 4 Q1 is 40 Q1 minus Q1 squared minus Q2 Q1, and then if you plug in firm 2's reaction function for Q2 right here, you will get the 40 Q1 minus Q1 squared minus Q1 times this for Q2, 20 minus 1 half Q1. And then this should start to simplify. We get 40 Q1 minus Q1 squared minus 20 Q1 plus 1 half Q1 squared, and combine the Q1s and the Q1 squared. 40 minus 20 Q1 is 20 Q1, and then minus Q1 squared plus 1 half Q1 squared is minus 1 half Q1 squared. So we're left with this nicer profit function, and let's maximize that up here. So let's maximize profit, 20 Q1 minus 1 half Q1 squared. Okay, and to do that, all we have to do is differentiate the profit function and then set it equal to 0, because that's the Q in which the profit peaks out or it hits its maximum. Okay, so when d profit dQ1 equals 0, what's the Q in that situation? That's our best Q to maximize profit. So if we differentiate that, we get 20 minus Q1 equals 0. And then we know that if 20 minus Q1 equals 0, the Q1 which satisfies that is Q1 star equals 20. Alright, so that's the long part for Stackelberg, and now all we're going to do is plug in, because firm 2 reacts, it goes second, so if that's what firm 1's going to do, firm 2 has a reaction function that we already found, 20 minus 1 half Q1, and let's plug in Q1 star for that reaction function. Okay, so 20 minus 1 half, Q1 here is 20, which means we get for firm 2, 20 minus 10, and firm 2's best output is 10. Alright, so everything's coming out net with no fractions here, which is nice. And the demand function is 44 minus Q1 plus Q2. Okay, 44 minus 20 for Q1, minus 10 for Q2, and that gives us a price of exactly $14. Okay, next, what are the profits of both firms? Okay, so profit is always revenue minus cost, so price times quantity minus cost for both firms. And price is 14, Q1 star is 20, and the cost function is 4Q, so it's 4 times 20. But for firm 2, it's the price of 14, family of 10, minus 4 times 10. And if we put these both, or solve these, we get the firm 1 profit is 200. And firm 2's profit is 100. So in the Stackelberg, the profit of firm 1 is double, and that's because the output of firm 1 is double firm 2. So there's a clear first mover advantage for the Stackelberg firm 1. And then to confirm which of the 4 firms makes the highest profit and the lowest profit, and so your highest profit should be firm 1, Stackelberg firm 1. Okay? You can see that that's the highest profit of all the types. 200, 100, and the 2 178, so that's the highest one. And the lowest profit is the Stackelberg firm 2 follower, which made a profit of 100. Okay, and then the lowest market price is, compare the market prices for Stackelberg and Cornell, and you'll see that Stackelberg charged 14, and Cornell, there was a price of roughly 17. So the Stackelberg market price was lower. Okay, so this should usually be the case, or pretty much always be the case, where the firm 1 Stackelberg makes the highest profit, the firm 2 Stackelberg makes the lowest, and the Stackelberg charges the lowest price. And so this is what you should get, but you got to confirm it and make sure that your answers give you that. So just when you write things for parts of G and H, just make sure that you actually showed that and that these scenarios actually do occur like they do here. So this should be what you get when you do this problem, but you got to make sure that that is what you got. Okay, so everybody good on the Cornell Stackelberg? The last big problem is game theory. Okay, so there's again going to be 3 questions. We've done 2 of the 3, and the last third is on the chapter 10 material, which is oligopoly, or just on game theory. So let's do this one. Here's the example. So let's assume it's 1985 and Nintendo and Atari play the following simultaneous move game. So they're both going at the same time. So Nintendo has 2 pricing options. for its Nintendo Entertainment System, and Atari has two pricing options for its new game console. Both Nintendo and Atari can either price their new game consoles at 100 or at 200. So if both priced at 100, they both get profits of $1 million. Both priced at 200, and they both get $5 million because they're getting higher revenue. But if one undercuts the other, if one prices at 100 and one prices at 200, the one that prices at 100 gets most of the market, and the company that prices at 100 gets 10 million, and the company that prices at 200, that didn't work out too well. They lose $1 million. So 10 million and then minus 1 million. Okay, so let's put Nintendo on the left side with their profits listed first and Atari's profits listed second. So we'll first do this in the one-time game. All right, and I did the payout matrices and the multi-stage game in Excel. So you're welcome to look at my examples here. Okay, so on the practice exam for the final, here's the Excel file that I posted for you guys. Okay, so there's these are the parts for the payoff matrix, whatever you call it. The payoff matrix. Okay, so if you need those, if you want to do it in Excel, you want to look at my examples, then those are there. You're also welcome to do it. You can just draw it on a piece of paper, or however you did your game theory for chapter 10, you can just stick to that. But if you want to do it in Excel, you can use mine as a template or example, or if you have a better way, you're welcome just to draw it on a piece of paper or drafting paper or whatever is your best strategy. All right, so first you have to produce the payoff matrix, which is right here. So let's draw the payoff matrix, and then let's solve it and define a Nash equilibrium. Okay, so these are the cases when, like the little problem said, if they both price at 100, it's $1 million each. If they both price at 200, it's $5 million each. And if they both price at mixed, then whoever prices lower at 100 gets 10, and the other firm loses $1 million. Okay, as you can see, if you solve it without cooperation, you know that if Atari prices at 100, Nintendo's best response is the price at 100. And if Atari prices at 200, Nintendo's best response is the price at 100 and get 10. So in both cases, no matter what, without an agreement, Nintendo will price at 100. And we get the same for Atari, but just double check that. Okay, if Nintendo prices at 100, Atari can price at 100 and get 1, or 200 and lose 1. It's going to do the 100 and get 1. And if Nintendo prices at 200, Atari can price at 100 and get 10, or 200 and get 5. And so they're going to price at 100 and get the 10. So in both cases, both firms are going to always price at 100 without any agreement because they don't want to risk losing the $1 million. So if you define the Nash equilibrium, which I highlighted here, you should get that the strategies are priced at 100, and then they both get $1 million and $1 million. So those are the strategies, and those are the payouts for the Nash equilibrium for part one-time game where there's no cooperation. Alright, then the next part, you're going to have the uncertain final period. So the same numbers, but they're going to play the game more than once, or the odds are they will. So let's assume Nintendo and Atari play the game repeatedly, where there's the uncertain final period, and specifically there's a 5% chance of a union strike. And if that's the case, the game ends, and so the theta is 5%. So both agree to price the new game consoles at $200, because that's the best. So looking at this one, right, so they can both benefit if they can both price at $200 and both get $5 million, but that's only if they can make an agreement and keep it. So let's see if they can. So they both agree to price the new game consoles at $200, provided neither company cheats on the agreement. So we got to check if it's worth cheating or not. So C, what is Nintendo's profit if it cheats? And D, what if it cooperates? And then what's Nintendo going to do after weighing the options for cheating and cooperating? So remember, there's a formula for the cooperation because you get the same thing every time. But cheating, you have to make sure you do it. You do it once with the cheating, and then if the firm cheats, the agreement's broken, they go back to the Nash equilibrium, which is 100-100. So it's not just they get the same payout every time, it's they get the cheating, and then every other time they play the game, or expected to play the game, they get the lower outcome. Okay, so first, take the theta, or the chance of playing the game, and determine how many times they're likely going to play the game. So just divide the chance for theta in decimal terms by 1. So 1 divided by 5% is 1 divided by 0.05, and so that means the likely number of rounds given the 5% is 20. Okay? So given that theta equals 5%, the most likely number of times they will play the game is 20. So you have to determine this for the cheating, because you can't just use a simple formula because they cheat once, and then they go back to the non-cooperative Nash equilibrium. Okay, so first, just divide 1 by theta, or 1 by the percent, and determine how many times you're going to play the game. Okay. So you see here that cooperating gives them 5. If they cheat, they get 10. But then after one round of cheating, it goes back to this one, but all the other ones, all the other rounds after cheating are 1. Okay, so let's determine the outcome if either firm cheats. I guess we're checking for Nintendo. So if Nintendo cheats, or their profit for cheating is, so here's the one time when they cheat, and if they cheat, they get 10. So obviously, if you do this once, it's worth it to cheat. But they're doing it likely 20 times. So there's the one time when they cheat, when they get 10, and then there's 19 more times they're going to get the 1. So make sure that your number of rounds sum to 20. Alright, so 1 plus 19 equals 20. So hopefully this makes sense, but one time they get 10, alright, and then 19 times they get 1. So this is the expected payout from cheating. Okay, so it's basically 10 plus 19, which is 29 million. Alright, so the expected profit for cheating is 29 million because they're expected to play it 20 times, and they would cheat once, where then that breaks the agreement, and then the 19 more times they play the game, they just get the 1 every time. Okay, cooperating, you can use the simple formula, which is the profit divided by theta, or you can double check and just multiply the number of rounds times the expected payout, and they both should give you the same. So the profit for cooperating 5, divided by the chance of the game ending, 5%, so 5 divided by 0.05. Or you could also just confirm that it's the same as 20 times 5. So either one of those calculations should give you 100 million. Okay, so you can double check that you counted the number of rounds right by doing the formula, profit divided by theta, and multiplying the profit by the expected number of rounds. Okay, so if they cooperate, the expectation is they get 100 million, so they're going to get this 5 million 20 times, or they can cheat and get 10, but then there's 19 more likely rounds where they only get 1. So you can clearly see that if they're going to play the game this many times, it's better to keep the agreement, because 100 million far exceeds the 29, so Nintendo would cooperate, because they'd estimate that the 100 they get is bigger than the 29 from cheating, and they would stick to their agreement, and they'd probably price their game cost was at 200, and get both get expected payouts of 5 times 20, which is 100 million. Okay, so is everybody clear on how to do the cheating part? I think this is the only part that's a little tricky, is you have to calculate the expected cheating, which is a combination of the cheating cell and then the other. So you have to make sure you get this, you're counting for the time you cheat, and then the rest of the times you get the broken agreement Nash equilibrium of 1. Okay, great. So this, I think just make sure you understand the cheating part, and look at the one for the chapter 10 homework, because I think that's, it's a little tricky sometimes. Okay, but it's also nice because if you count the number of rounds correctly, then you double check and you're 100% sure that this is the same as that, then you definitely did it correctly. Okay, but the point of this game is that the longer they're likely to play the game, the more they're likely to cooperate, because they're going to get the payout more times. Now, if they play the game only once, there's an incentive to cheat, right, which we figured out. And so because of that, if they play the game only once, neither one of them makes the agreement, and they just go to this. Okay, so here we have a multi-stage game. So let's read the little thing and then draw the game tree here. So let's assume that Mario and Luigi face a multi-stage game where Mario is the leader and Luigi is the follower. Mario goes first and has to decide whether or not to marry Princess Peach. So Mario has one decision to make, going first, marry Princess Peach, or don't marry Princess Peach. That's the only decision for the first mover, Mario. And then Luigi goes second. So if Mario marries Princess Peach, Luigi has two choices. First is for Luigi to be Mario's best man, okay, in which case Mario earns 200 gold coins of happiness and Luigi earns 25 gold coins of happiness. Now the second option is for Luigi to steal Mario's gold, where Mario earns 150 and Luigi earns 75. So that's one node there. If Mario marries Princess Peach, that's the outcome for the two Luigi decisions. Alright, the other part is that Mario doesn't marry Princess Peach. Luigi has two different decisions to make, so he can either, first option for Luigi is to sign Mario up for online dating because he didn't marry Princess Peach. In this case, Mario earns 100 and Luigi earns 25. And the second option for Luigi is to steal Mario's gold. And here, Mario earns 50 and Luigi earns 75. Alright, so the first thing you have to do is put this information together and draw the game tree. Okay, so if you want to do it in Excel, you can look at my example. Here, and use that as a template. If you want to just draw it, if it's easier just to draw it on a piece of paper, that might save you some time as long as you can convert it to a PDF. But you don't have to use Excel, but if you want to, here's my example. Okay, so if you have really bad handwriting, you might want to use this Excel version. Alright, so here's the game tree, and then we'll solve it backwards. So Mario goes first. You can either marry Princess Peach or don't, so we see those two options here. And then Luigi has two choices at each decision after Mario makes the choice. So if Mario marries Princess Peach, then Luigi's choices are be Mario's best man or steal Mario's gold. Okay, so this outcome is Mario gets the first payout because Mario goes first. 225 or 150.75 are these two options. But then if Mario doesn't marry Princess Peach, Luigi has a different decision to make. Alright. Mario gets online dating signed up by Luigi, and then they get 125. Or he steals Mario's gold, and the payouts are 50 and 75. So these are the, first you draw the game tree, and then you solve the second mover's decisions at both options, or all the options. So if Luigi were here, he could either be Mario's best man and get 25, or he can steal Mario's gold and get 75, so he's going to steal Mario's gold, right? If Luigi were here, you can sign Mario up for online dating and get 25, or he can steal Mario's gold and get 75. So again here, his best payout is to steal Mario's gold, and so you can see that regardless of what Mario does, Luigi's best response is to steal Mario's gold, because that always gives him the highest payout. Okay, so now Mario can look at Luigi's best choices and work from there. So Mario knows that if he marries Princess Peach, Luigi's best response is to steal his gold, in which case he gets 150. And he knows that if he doesn't marry Princess Peach, Luigi's best response is again to steal his gold, where he would get 50. So he can weigh his outcomes. He goes here, Luigi goes here, he gets 150. Or he goes here, Luigi goes here, and he gets 50. So clearly, you can see that marrying Princess Peach, even though he gets his gold stolen, would give him the highest number of gold coins of happiness. So Mario would rather have the 150 compared to the 50. So Mario is going to marry Princess Peach, knowing that Luigi is always going to steal his gold, and that's going to be the path to the outcome of 150 to 75. So Mario marries Princess Peach. Unfortunately, Luigi steals his gold, but he still has enough gold coins of happiness to outweigh not marrying her, even with his gold stolen. But you can see the outcome here, and you have to describe it for the sub-game perfect match equilibrium. So describe the first mover strategy, which is he's always going to marry Princess Peach. And regardless, Luigi's best response is to steal Mario's gold. Okay, and then the outcome is 150 gold coins of happiness for Mario, and then 75 gold coins for Luigi. Okay. All right. Questions on the game theory ones, where we have the first, they both just go at the same time, and the second one they play it a multiple number of times, and the third one is going to be some first mover advantage, a sequential game where you got to draw the game tree and kind of work backwards. So, any questions on game theory problems? Okay, and so again, when I post my homework solutions, look at your Chapter 10 homework and make sure you got those. Double check for more practice if you want. Okay, and again, using Excel to do the game theory is not required, but it's optional. So if that's what you like to do, like I did for Excel, you can use that for the game theory, or you can just, if it's easier for you to write it on paper and draw it with a pen or pencil and scan it, then you can do that. All right, so you can look at the practice file we just went through, the solutions, and then the Excel template for the practice file. Okay, and so great. Everybody has turned in the homeworks for chapters 8, 9, and 10, so we don't have to worry about that. You guys are on top of that. And then, other than the final, which I'm about to post, make sure that you get this done. Oligopoly homework, which we went over last week. And so you have, since everyone's done the homework, you basically have two more things to submit. The oligopoly homework and then the final. So this one goes here, and then the final is via email. All right, so let me post the final. All right, so just give me a second, and I'll post the final on Blackboard so you can see that. Okay, so you should be able to view your final exams on Blackboard. So let's go down to the section. Final exam spring 2020. Here's the stuff we just did for practice, and then this should be it. Final exam spring 2020 right here. Okay, so you're going to see three big questions similar to what we just did on the practice one, and it tells you what to do and how to submit it. So PDF or Word documents preferred, whichever one of those is easier for you. And this is due, just like it says in the syllabus, week 10, which is next week, by the end of Friday, May 29th. So you have a week to do that. And remember the exams, so the final you want to send me via email. So just when you get your answers completed, you can email it to me by next Friday. Okay, And so you guys should be familiar with the structure. You got the profit maximizing choices, identify the different firms. You got the oligopoly, Cornell and Stackelberg. Okay, and then this is the game theory is number 3. I give an example from monopolist and competition because these types of firms went into that type. So you can do game theory for oligopoly or monopolistic competition. So just do the same exact analysis, but I chose firms that go under monopolistic competition, but the game theory types are the same. Okay, so you have a one-time game, a multiple time uncertain period, and then a multi-stage game. But it just turns out that the firms I chose went under monopolistic competition, but you can approach them the same exact way. Okay, so that's your final. Let me just Okay, so just again, you only have two more pretty big things to turn in, but next week, and you can turn them in early whenever you finish. Make sure you turn in the oligopoly homework on the Blackboard forum. And then make sure you email me your completed final exam answer sheet, both by Friday, May 29th, next week. Well, so this completes the material, and so I did schedule a WebEx. Yeah, so I'm just basically, like, next week is technically finals week, and so I scheduled a meeting, but we're not going to do any new material. So if you finish the oligopoly homework and everything else in the final and submit it and don't have any questions or anything, then you don't have to attend the last meeting. But I'm going to keep it as office hours just in case you guys have any questions closing out the semester, the term. And so I'll hold the meeting, and I'll be here for next Friday, May 29th at 6, just in case you guys have questions about the final or the project or your grades. But we won't be in any new material. So it's basically like end of the term office hours, in case you guys have questions or need to reach me one last time. So this is our last meeting of new material, but I'll have like a finals week office hours. Okay, so any questions on the oligopoly homework or the final or anything else for the rest of the term? Or just, yeah? Okay, so yeah, just turn in your oligopoly homework, turn in your final. Let me know if you have any questions. You can email me, and then I'll be here during week 10 just for a WebEx meeting, but it's optional, it's office hours, just in case a lot of students have questions during finals, so in case you need to reach me, you can find me there, or you can email me. Yeah. All right, so I think that's what I want to cover for today and for the term, basically. So thank you guys for pretty much coming to every class, and I know it was a sudden change to online, but you guys are really flexible and made it a lot easier for me to adapt this class quickly to online because you guys are willing to participate. So let me know if you have any questions. That's all I have, and thank you guys. And I'll hear from you soon and send me your finals. So thank you.